Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has committed government to joining the disability sector of South Africa on a journey towards the full empowerment of people with disabilities. Yesterday, there was a meeting of the Presidential Working Group on Disability in Pretoria. The President was joined by the Ministers of Transport, Justice and Correctional Services and Deputy Ministers as well. To discuss, we're joined by Thandi Mfulu, the Deputy Secretary General of Disabled People South Africa. Thandi, thank you for joining us. Are you happy with the political will shown here initially?
I'm very happy. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I am very happy with the political will to make sure that issues of disability are being, taken forward. And there's a commitment from the President, and also by him encouraging private sector and everybody to commit and make sure that issues of disability are being taken into account.
Take us through some of the proposals tabled at the working group yesterday.
Some of the proposals that were tabled yesterday, it's about, remember on the response of the SONA on the 7th of February, after the debate of SONA, the President responds and he commits himself, and he also, what we were asking from them, we are saying there's a need for action to be taken to make sure that all the issues are being covered. For an example, one of them is to say we want the office back into the presidency, just like women, just like youth. If youth can be in the presidency and women in the presidency, what's wrong with disability? And then, because one of the things is to say, disability issues, they are in social development now. How will the Minister of Social Development say to the Minister of Entrepreneurs, you need to assist you need to make sure that issues of disability are being taken care of.
So you're saying that if it's situated within the President's office, maybe his powers are overarching across ministries to deal with people with disabilities?
Exactly, because the Minister of Health cannot say to the Minister of Social Development, you did not do your job. The other issue that we wanted is to say, we need an agency. There's NYDA that specifically deals with issues of youth. Now, issues of disability, who's dealing with it? Can we also have an agency that is looking after us as people with disability? So it's one of the discussions that we're talking about. We are also saying sign language should be language number 12 in South Africa. We are also saying the UN Convention on Disability should be enacted as a law, so that whatever things that you can it can become a law to protect people with disability. The other one is to say we need to strengthen the justice department. For an example, I'll make an example. Now recently, there's a child 14 years old in Kimberley who is raped by a prominent politician. The child is only 14 years old. Now, all of a sudden, it was taking long to investigate, and they were saying the child is not telling the truth. That's what they got mental disability. So we need to strengthen that, to say the investigating officer that deals with that needs to understand disability. And we need to say, in terms of budgeting, we need assistive devices that are manufactured locally. If you want a wheelchair costs the cheapest, it's 20,000.
Yeah.
And you have to wait for that wheelchair because it's not done locally.
Okay.
But if it's manufactured in South Africa, then it's easier. Another one is early child development. It needs to be inclusive. Because at this moment, most of children with disability are not at school. They are not at early child development. Now recently, again in the Northern Cape, A deaf child cannot be taken because the school is saying there's no sign language. They don't have that. But why are they not budgeting for that? Why are they not making sure that those things are being cared for? In terms of economic benefits, how many people with disability have got businesses? We need 30% to be set aside for that. So those are some of the things that we are talking about.
In terms of the fundamental things, allowing people movement, things like ramps, in terms of no discrimination, do we need any more laws there? Is there a problem with enforcement, or do we have the fundamentals right and now we're looking at things like you've raised, the schooling system, small businesses and disabled people living with disabilities owning small businesses?
For me, what is forcing them to do that? Because it has been happening. It's a rule. It's some of the policy. But at this moment, nothing is happening. It's very quiet. Whether it's business, whether it's employment, even the government itself cannot even reach. Remember, the first time it was 2%. It has gone up to 7%, but they've not even reached 1%. Whether it's government, whether it's private sector. And there's nothing that is biting to say to them, if you don't do that, these are the actions that are going to be taken against you. So we are saying maybe if there's law, the law, everybody's afraid of law, then they will act or they react to make sure that things are happening.
Has the president himself, has government committed to changing legislation?
Yeah, it's still under discussion, that one. We are pushing for it to say that's what we need, that's what was cut. To say there must be legislation. Because at this moment, it depends on people's mood. They are messy. If they don't want to, nothing is forcing them.
Many other language groups are looking for more visibility. You spoke about sign language becoming a 12th language in South Africa. What difference will that make, do you think?
At this moment, like I'm saying, it depends on people's message. But if it becomes a language, then everybody will be willing to learn it, like anyone who wants, and it can be taught at school, so that people can. It should not be a question of if I want to. Because once it's a language, it means you as a teacher, you need to know that language, because in your class you'll be having a child who's having hearing impairment or who cannot speak. So you have to sign for that child. It should be part of the curriculum also. Because once it's there, it's part of the curriculum. At this moment, it's not part of the curriculum. Let me make an example. If I'm going for a teacher and going for training to become a teacher, I can specialize. I can specialize in Afrikaans, in English, in Setswana. But now, at this moment, even in those colleges, there's not even a sign language. In ordinary schools, there's not even a sign language. So when are we going to make sure that people with hearing impairment are accommodated if it does not become, because it's a language on its own for people who cannot hear.
All right, thank you very much. Saying that there's still many challenges for people with disabilities. That was Thandi Mfulu, Deputy Secretary General of Disabled People South Africa, following the meeting of the Presidential Working Group on Disability in Pretoria yesterday.